What's going on, Scott? Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time here. To kick off this call, I'd love to kind of just get an introduction from you, learn a little bit about Rex Energy, and yeah, just tell us about your fundraising goals.
Yeah, great, mate. Well, look, thanks for the opportunity to just come and have a little chat. That's pretty cool. I'm dialing in from the Panhandle of Florida, where I've got 20 acres. We're just building a house, so we're just temporarily situated here while we've
I
got some
see a
construction.
wild dog in the background in the window.
That's a dog. We actually just got him from Australia. So he's our dog from Australia. He actually spent 3 days on a plane. He flew to Qatar, hung out for a day, and then they brought him here. So a heck of a journey for him. But
Well-traveled dog.
that's it. So yeah, thanks very much again. So look, into business, Rex Energy. Who we are, what we do. Um, we're a very unique company, and so we're essentially a microgrid company. We've developed probably what the world's most advanced microgrid, and so it gets situated into multi-tenanted communities and properties. And from that, what it does is it provides real-time data to the tenants. The tenants can see their real-time power demand, which enables eco-responsible tenants. It enables tenants to co-manage the carbon footprint of the site. Because we have that real-time data, it enables us to basically real-time manage
hmm
solar, battery, anything that's wind, anything that gets integrated into that ecosystem of those multi-tenant properties. And the objective is to decarbonize those sites 24 hours a day with on-site generated and stored renewables. And that's precisely what the system does. It dispenses the exact amount of renewable energy as required by the tenant's real-time power demand to them, and it does that 24 hours a day. So we're really excited about the product. We've got some amazing projects going on around the world. As a matter of fact, the government of Dubai has a pilot system sitting in their federal building right now, and I'll be meeting with the president very soon to discuss deployment of the Rex Energy X1 system throughout 145 square kilometers of industrial, commercial, and residential buildings in Dubai, which would make us essentially the largest power company in Dubai aside of the government itself.
Wow, yeah, I remember when I first started learning more about you, and when we first started, engaging. I'm just so excited to really start working with you because of all this amazing traction, and I mean that's just so cool. The whole Dubai project. Could you kind of walk us through a little bit about your fundraising goals and what brought you to StormX?
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, so our fundraising goals it's actually had to be quite fluid because things change very quickly in our company as we trounce onto large opportunities in this world, right? I mean, Dubai could be $1 billion project or more, so that changes the fundraising for Rex Energy very quickly. So at the moment, we're trying to raise somewhere between 5 and 20 million just for global scaling purposes, right? So we have the product, we know the model, we know how to sell it, and it's just time to scale globally. And you know, I speak to some of these funders out there, and they say, "Well, maybe it's time for you to take 100 million, or maybe it's time for you to take," and it's an interesting it's an interesting moving target for us. But right now, we would be comfortable raising anywhere from 5 to 20 million. Those are our immediate targets for the immediate
Mhm.
global scaling needs. I'm a proponent of not taking more than what you need, but that means that you're always in a cycle of raising money. It's important
Yeah.
to note that, right? So, and no one should ever stop. If you are the CEO or the founder of a startup corporation, you should never ever stop raising money. And because you can have investors sitting on the bench, which is a very important thing to do. And that's what I really liked about the StormX platform. It links me on a weekly basis. I don't have to put in any of the effort. You guys take care of finding the investors. You guys have developed emails that go out to these investors, and these are specifically developed emails so that we get traction and feedback from these investors. You know, and and I think that's a really positive thing because what it does, it enables me to focus on my business, and then it enables me to then kind of reactively slash proactively approach these investors because they're actually coming to me with, "Hey, Scott, I saw this email. Thanks very much. We'd be very interested in speaking to you. Can you send us your deck?" And it just makes my life easy, right? And you guys are so good to work with. Mike, Eduardo, you're absolutely, your team is exceptional. It's very easy to work with you. I feel like we're a team. I actually feel like you're part of Rex Energy in our journey. And
Appreciate that.
well, it's the way you guys make us feel, and we really appreciate that, because I think you're vested in our success as well, right? Because you want to be able to go out and tell your clients, "Hey, look what we did for Rex Energy, and now they're thriving. How great is that?" And I think that's, you guys are offering a service that's very much needed in the startup realm. The other thing I have to say is I think your pricing is brilliantly reasonable. I've worked with corporations that have charged me $5,000 US a month, and they have given me absolutely nothing to show for it, right? I've worked with companies charged me $6,000 US a month, and they did okay, but again, I had no success with their platform. With you guys, I'm meeting with investors, I'm having conversations with investors who are interested. That's the other side of it, right?
Mhm.
You're finding investors who are not just going, "Hey, yeah, let me see a pitch." I'm meeting with investors who see what you've sent them, from an email perspective, and they're really interested in investing day one. And all I have to do is go through the motion, Mike.
That's awesome. Can you kind of go into you said you worked with a couple other companies. A lot of the people who we work with or even talk to are super skeptical mainly because of the industry that we're in. You know,
Oh yeah,
how many people are promising, investor marketing services and connecting to tons and tons of investors. Can you tell me a little bit about kind of some of those fears you had going into an agreement with us and how we were able to kind of shift that perspective?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that, because it's important to note. I have worked with so many different capital raising entities over the past 4 years. I mean, I'd count probably 10 or more. And I've found the ones that have the most success. Well, I've had the most success with you guys primarily in meeting with properly vetted investors. Now, these other people, they approach you and they say, "Hey, my name's blah blah blah, and I know all these investors, and I'm just going to take you to them, and we'll get investment. It's going to be great." Um, and I have had zero success with those types of individuals, right? And they charge me money upfront, and there's just no success, right? So one thing I like to say in Rex Energy is we like to pay for results, not
Mhm.
promises. Okay, so
Yeah.
and that should be a rule of any startup company: pay for results, not promises. You guys deliver, you do exactly what you say you're going to do day one, and I think that's something that really resonated within our business. We really like that, right? You go, "Hey, we're going to send out this many emails. We're going to take action. We're going to call you. We're going to learn about your business. We're going to take time to understand you, your mission, your objectives, and your company itself." And you guys did that, right? Your questionnaire was intuitive. We sat down. I had discussions with Eduardo. I had discussions with you. I had discussions with Christian. I had discussions with your copywriters. I mean, it was a very systematic, well planned approach. We really appreciate it. We're getting results, and I think that that's something that no one else has delivered to me, right? Just a lot of people. I mean, I had a guy once, and I'm not kidding you. He promised that he was going to get us investment within, I think it was like 90 days. He
Hmm.
drove to meet me at my family's home. He drove like 6 hours or something to meet my family and I, who my family are some of the co-investors in Rex Energy, at one of our homes in Destin. And this guy literally sat there in front of my family and said, "I'm going to raise you capital. It's going to be great. Pay me 5 grand a month." And so we started paying this guy
5 grand a month. Wow.
5,000 US a month. And I'm not kidding you, I met with 2 investors in 3 months. So we spent $15,000 US, and I met with 2 investors. One of them was a follow investor, and the other one, was a friend of this guy, and, because I refused to pay another $5,000 to this fella, he shut off communications. Now think about that, right? And so that's what people come into cap raising concerned about, because they've had these types of experiences in the past, and they just go, "Hey, I find it difficult to trust people. So
Hmm.
you guys, we had amazing conversations. You were interested, not interesting. And I think that's something that really hit me hard. Okay. Mike, Eduardo, your team, you were interested in Rex Energy. You made it your mission to understand us. Instead of being interesting and trying to tell me all the wonderful things you're going to accomplish, you started asking me questions about my business, and that made me feel really good, guys. All right. And so when we went into this with you, I was quite hopeful because I just felt like things were going to move forward very well because you were concerning yourself with how my business operated. And look, we're getting results. I just met with an investor last week who's interested in throwing $20 million into Rex Energy. And that's our it's a second or third meeting. I've sent them tons of information, and the way we do things at Rex Energy with information exchange is pretty unique as well. And I want
Hmm.
to talk about that in a bit as well. But yeah, so I'm really happy with the results, guys, and I think you're a wonderful team.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that. And it's so exciting seeing, the progress and how your campaign has grown over time and just working with you and really just learning about your company. It's a privilege. Are there any specific components of the system, the scripts, the data that really stood out to you in terms of getting you the most results?
Yeah, I think the fact that you guys take time to write the scripts properly, and here's what I really like. We write the scripts, we throw them out there, and we go, "Hey, are we happy with the results we're getting from these scripts? Yes or no? No? Cool. Let's make some adjustments." And you guys take the time to make
Mm.
adjustments, and it's almost like that trial and error improvement, right? So
Yeah.
business is a process of failing forward, Mike, is it not? Like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
life in general should be that way. You fail your way forward, which means, and that's what I like to say my career has been. I've failed my way forward. I fail, I learn, I make adjustments,
I
I
like that. Wow. I like
yeah,
that saying.
yeah.
I've never
So
heard that before.
well, that's what you guys are doing,
Yeah.
right? And in my eyes, we get out there, we go, okay, are we happy with this? Are we not if we're not happy with it, then what you guys do with us is you work with us to make adjustments on not only the scripts, but our approach, this and that, all the rest. We're doing a few different things right now to add additional investor meetings each week. I love it, and I think that it's just yeah, it's a really it's very positive, and it's got a lot of fortuitous kind of just this forward momentum. We really appreciate. Yeah.
That's great. And again, I appreciate the feedback. One of the big things about just the Stormex and just fundraising in general is, we do our part to to get you investors and bring people who are interested. But a huge component, more than 50% of the work is also getting on meetings with these investors and initiating that well, we initiate the conversation, but moving that conversation forward. And you've seemed to do a really great job of, hopping on a meeting or, responding to these investors, getting them on a meeting and, talking terms. Can you kind of go into some of your strategies, some advice that you could give other founders on how to really, you know, uh, move that conversation forward?
Yeah, of course, progressing conversations with investors is precisely correct. The next kind of component to
Mm.
this whole realm, right? So we at Rex Energy we have quite a strong YouTube channel, and we have a lot of great data. We have a how it works video. We have a whole bunch of I don't know panel sessions that I've sat on historically.
Mm.
Interviews that I've done, news channel interviews, all the rest. We have all that stuff in there, which kind of helps us we can provide some links and people can actually view us in real, kind of in a video setting and how we speak, how we communicate, learn a little bit more. It makes things a bit easier for investors when you have some how it works videos. Just little pieces like that really help investors to understand what your company is all about. But it doesn't help investors to understand who you are, right? And that's the other part of it. Investors are investing in you,
Yeah.
right? They're investing in your idea, but ultimately they have to believe that you are going to drive the company to eventual success, right? Within the scope and time frame that they're looking to invest in, right? So a lot of these investors are investing for an exit They're not investing for dividends. They're investing for an exit. You also have to have your exit plans in order before you have conversations with these investors. They're going to ask you, well, what are your exit plans? You know, and if you go, well, I just want to run a company for 30 years, they're going to go, we're not going to invest in your company,
Yeah.
right? Because we'll all be dead by the time we see the money from your company, right? So I do a few things. I have really good videos. Um, I have a forecast that I can email anybody at any moment. This is a forecast that is, up to date. I can just email a PDF of our financial forecast, and I recommend that everyone needs to have, before you have conversations with investors, if you don't have a forecast, you don't know how much money you're raising and why, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
so you need a financial forecast. You need to have, kind of a pie chart, and that pie chart would also say, this is the percentage I'm going to spend on people, employees. This is the percentage I'm going to spend on marketing. This is R&D. This is, I need to buy some inventory, or we need, funding for projects, so that we can get some projects off the ground, whatever it may be. You need to have that prepared, because investors are going to ask for that probably day one. If they're interested in you, they're going to ask for a forecast, right? And so another thing that we do at Rex Energy, and I think this is quite unique, and I recommend that every startup does this: make a list of every question you ever receive from an investor. Make a list,
Mhm.
and then place all of those questions into a single document, categorize them, and write answers next to all of those questions, and do that. And you'll end up like we have. I think it's a 17-page document with every question we've ever been asked from an investor and their answers. And so I get asked by an investor, can you send me some additional information? And then I go, bam, here's a 17-page document with every question I've ever had from an investor. This is what we call our due diligence document. Please
Mhm.
have a read through it and let us know if you still remain interested in investing in our company.
I'm super happy you said that. I'm really happy you said that because that's like the number one thing. The first thing, anytime a company comes to me and they need help on a pitch deck or anything, I say, okay, what are you getting asked? Or think about every single possible question they have to ask. Think about the frequency of those questions and order your pitch deck in that way. You know, if their first question is going to be, okay, what's your total addressable market? That's that slide. Okay, what's their next question going to be once they know your addressable marker? That's the next slide. Okay, once they know your financial plan, what's your next slide? What's their next question? You know, that's the next slide. And basically having it like understanding the questions they're going to ask and having an answer for that. And if you don't have an answer for that, then you're going to have to sit on a call, you're going to have to explain it, and it's not going to get across. So,
100%. The other thing that I would say, I'm glad you brought up pitch decks, because it's quite important to have two pitch decks. One pitch deck is a short form pitch deck that you email to garner interest. And the second pitch deck is a longer pitch deck with a whole ton of information in it, kind of maybe even a short form forecast in there and all kinds of information that they can easily click through, right?
mhm.
So I recommend that folks have that companies have a short form, kind of a really punchy pitch deck that gets across who you are, what you do, what's your market, how you're going to win, what's your exit strategy, and boom, that's all anybody needs to know day one. And then when they come and ask the more finite questions, you have that larger pitch deck in the background that has some visuals in it. And then you have your due diligence document, and those two things married up with your forecast.
Okay.
Well, there's not a whole lot more you can provide a company, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's investors that outside of that, they're going to be vetting you as a leader.
And so is there anything specific when an investor replies to you saying, "Hey, can you send some more information?" Is there anything specific you do to encourage them to hop on a meeting with you?
Yeah, I do a couple of things. I respond with an email, and I give them some the how it works video link for our company. I give them a couple of other little video links, like some, maybe some interviews that I've done and whatnot. And then I attach our pitch deck,
Hmm.
short form pitch deck. I then attach our spec sheet, and I come back and I say, hey, when can we meet? And I give them a couple of points of availability on my end. I'm available next Wednesday at 2 p.m. and I'm available Friday at 1 p.m. Right? So, or whatever it may be. And I do that because number one, I'm communicating some free spots in my schedule, which is very important. Some startup CEOs might have a completely blank calendar next week, right? But you don't want an investor to feel like
Yeah.
you have no meetings and they're the only company that's interested in your company. So
Mhm.
give them a couple of slots of availability. The other thing I do is I follow up with a phone call.
Okay.
That's so powerful because then they
Yeah.
get to hear you and you're suddenly a real person, not just somebody that's hidden amongst the layers of email, right? So my advice is, send an email, give them some links, some additional really cool stuff to look at that's going to interest them and cause them to say, yes, let's do this meeting. Because what happens is a lot of these investors come back and they say, hey, that email looks really good. Can you send me some additional information? So you don't just go, here's everything. You you give them the punchy stuff because you want to get into that first meeting. And then after that first meeting, that's when you give them the boring stuff like your due diligence document.
I
But make
really
sure you
want to
follow up an email with a phone call.
yeah, that's definitely super powerful. I like what you said about, making them realize that, okay, yeah, this is a real person. And I think you're a perfect example of this because, and wherever we share this video, I want to link to your YouTube channel if that's all right. So people
Yeah.
can see, like this is what Scott's doing and this is why Scott's so successful because on your YouTube, you have all these videos of yourself talking, explaining these concepts and putting a face to the company, showing that there is a real person behind this. And I just think that's so powerful. And I really like that you said that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so true, right? Because these investors, they get hundreds of emails a day. You got to think, how do you set yourself apart from hundreds of companies who are trying to find investment? And you must find a way to be different. You must find a way to bring some form of human touch to this whole thing. And if you fail to do that, then your results will be sluggish, right? So make those phone calls. People are afraid to make phone calls. Man, enjoy making phone calls. Call it. They're not going to bite you. Just make a phone call. Introduce yourself. I mean, we have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are coming up on some time. I'd love to ask, is there any final kind of advice that you would want to give other startup founders when they are trying to reach out to investors and,
Mm.
uh, secure fundraising?
I think when you find investors who are interested, you really also need to make sure that you're interested in them.
Hmm.
Okay. Don't just take money for the sake of taking money, right? Because if someone's going to offer you money, there's going to be 10 others that will offer you money behind it, right? And you also need to make sure, as much as that investor is making sure that you're right for them, you need to make sure that that investor is also right for you. You need to do your due diligence on those investors as well. And because it's sometimes what happens is a company can get into the same boat with an investor and not enjoy that journey because maybe that investor has certain expectations that you really weren't aware of. So make sure you ask questions to the investors as well. That's so important because you might have an investor who goes, "Hey, I really want you to do a 36-month exit," and you might go, "Yeah, we'll probably have an exit in 36 to 48, maybe 60 months," and then that investor is going to drive you hard
Hmm.
that 24-month exit or whatever it may be. And they'll be very displeased if it looks like you're not going to make that timeline, right? So you need to make sure that your visions of your exit align. You have to make sure that your vision of how you market your company is aligned. The other thing that I would say is really important is there are also investors. Investors can invest money, but investors can also support your growth depending on
Hmm.
that type of investor. The best investor that you can find is an investor that can connect you and your corporation to streams of success. Um, with Rex Energy, we would love investors who might be, I don't know, like Solar City or something like that, who's just has this massive sales arm where they could just take our product and go bang, 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 all throughout the United
Yeah,
States. They
yeah.
already know the regulation, they already know the code, versus us trying to figure all of that out on our own, right? So if
Mhm.
you had Solar City come in and invest 20 million into Rex Energy, they could turn Rex Energy into a $500 million company overnight. You have so think about that. It depends on what kind of company you have, and what category you're in, but make sure your investors can help you find success as well, right? Just a pit of money is not is the value of that is probably less than what you could imagine, right? So the other thing that I would say to investors, sorry, to founders and startups, is that I promise you, everything is going to cost twice as much and take twice as long than what you think it is. You start off with this ridiculously optimistic view of how quickly you're going to find success, how quickly you're going to develop your product, and blah 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 blah. No, trust me, it'll take twice as long and cost twice as much. So make sure you plan for that within your forecast, and be realistic, be super realistic, because a forecasts go right out the window very quickly. Okay,
Mhm.
so forecasts are just a moving target, but plan for things to cost more. Don't sell yourself or your company short, because if you go, oh, I think we can do this for $500,000, don't go raise $1.5 million, right? Because you're going to need it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Scott, I really appreciate your time and feedback. Can you kind of share some updates and some things to look forward to for Rex Energy for people to check out?
Yeah, of course. So well, look, Rexon, we're right now in kind of the final phase of our Dubai project. I'm quietly confident that we're going to be hired to decarbonize 145 square kilometers of Dubai. If that happens, then Rex Energy is just going to skyrocket throughout the entirety of the Middle East, the MENA region, Middle East to North Africa. I could expect the projects are going to start coming online in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, Egypt,
Oh,
and all.
that's
So
amazing.
really excited about that. Yeah, that's going to be huge. And then I would say that a few other things. We have a licensee that we're warming up in Norway as well. It's interesting. We're seeing a lot of change in regulation, the regulatory climate around the world.
Mhm.
Norway's mandated that I think it's 20% of every building needs to be powered by renewable energy moving forward. So there's all these rules and regulations that lend itself very well to Rex Energy, because there's no technology in the world that integrates solar inverters, batteries, battery inverters, the tenants, the grid, all of these various things, and forces everything to work together in a compliant manner. That's what our technology does. And so we see Norway coming online. We're right now in the process of negotiating contracts with a very large project in Australia. So the other thing that we're doing is, instead of Rex Energy, and this is one thing I just like to say, because I think it's really important. You really think through your business model, right? Because
Mhm.
we said, hey, how many projects can we sell and manage a year? Well, not too many, right? But how many projects could we sell and manage a year if we're actually not the ones selling and managing them, and all we're doing is focusing on our technology, making it better, and licensing it to companies around the world who are already in the energy market? So we have a bit of a shift in our business model, and what we're doing is we're selling licenses of our technology all around the world,
Okay.
and we're selling it to like solar cities in Dubai or in Saudi Arabia or whatever it may be. And so what happens is this group of investors come together and they buy a license in Rex Energy. But these group of investors, they're already connected to all of the largest property developers, or they're already connected to the power authorities or whatever it may be. And so they're able to seed the success of Rex Energy in those regions
Mhm.
very easily. And they're the ones that handle the operations, not us, right? So
Yeah.
um, focus on what you're best at and drive that to success. Don't try to be everything to everyone. And so that's a little bit about what we're up to. I would say that my exit plans are 36 to 60 months, and we're providing that we get enough investment to scale this thing globally.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to see your growth, and it's an honor to be by your side in this journey. So, uh, yeah, I really appreciate your time, Scott.
And we,
And
we appreciate you guys as well, mate. We really do. Yeah.